Hi everyone, Angus Campbell here, Wednesday the 28th of August 2024. So here's the respite from the Bonneville. This is Chris's Hurricane, and some time ago he asked me when feasible, could I have a look at it because it's running rough. Now Chris has had this bike for a while. He had it restored by a third party, and the basic lowdown is that it was running fine before it was restored. And once they restored it, it was running rough, and they thought it was the carbs, so they replaced the carbs and it's still running rough. So that to me is an indicator that it's not the carbs. Anyway, what Chris has asked is if I can go through my process of diagnosing rough running on triples that we've used on Nigel Deakin's Rocket 3 last year and my Rocket 3 more recently, and go through the same process to see if we can improve the running on this. Apparently it's a bit difficult to start, and it runs rough. So that's what we'll do. Just some comments in general. It seems to have been well restored. It's to original specification. It looks fantastic. The only difference cosmetically is that the original carbs would have been silver painted, and these I presume they're Mark 1.5 Premiers are not. But Chris has provided the original carbs and said he would prefer those to go back on. So that's going to be, if you like, the first focus. So what I'm going to do today is we'll fire it up and see what it sounds like. And then I'm going to take the carbs off and take them back to the garage. And we'll see what settings are in the carbs, i.e. jets and needle heights and slides, and we'll compare those to the originals and see if there's any significant wear on the originals. If not, we'll put the originals back on. We may as well and take it from there. So the plan of action will be is we'll check the carbs first, then we'll go on to ignition timing stroke tappets, and also at the same time the battery. This is on electronic ignition, and that just reminds me really to ask Chris whether it was on electronic before it was restored. I'll send that question to him. I'll just check through some of the information he's provided, but we've had a discussion about it as well, because if it wasn't on electronic before and it is now, and the coils haven't been changed, depending on what unit's installed, then that might be a focus as well. But as I say, check the battery condition as well. With electronic, if you haven't got a really good battery that holds its charge well, then you're in for trouble. You'll be stranded. But it does look very good, so I can't see anything significant wrong with it. The only quick thing as well that he's asked me to look at, which I did note, is that as always the front brake, you can see the arms are in the wrong position really. That's not going to be optimum for that brake, so he's asked me just to have a look at that and see if we can adjust it. Well, it should be easy enough. If we can't adjust it properly on the verniers and they're already at the right adjustment, then the cable's going to be too short. So that's usually the problem with these. So what we'll do first then is we'll fire it up, and I'll bring you back if we can keep it running, and just to demonstrate what issues he might have been encountering. I'm not going to ride it just yet. I used to have a Hurricane. I had it for a long while. I had it for 18 years or so, but then I did sell it when I consolidated down and decided to focus on the grey frame as a small collection. So I do know quite a bit about these, and also I've still got all the literature that I collected at the time, so we've got plenty of reference points to make sure we've got you know, the right specs and things installed. Right, let's see if we can get it fired up and let you listen to it. Well, she's still warming up, so I've got quite a bit of choke on her still, but she didn't fire up too bad. Throttle appears to be sticking a little bit, but that normally sometimes happens when you've got fresh paint on the rack. Because as you can see, the rack's painted black on this. On the other triples it was just left as alley. It is a bit rough on tick over, not the worst I've ever encountered, and it's certainly light on the right hand pot, so that would seem to indicate that carb slides aren't balanced. And then she dies when you take it off choke. Turn the ignition off. She picks up well though on all 3 cylinders when you rev her. So I'm beginning to think we're on the right track with the carbs, really, to be honest. Now the first thing that I'm going to do, which is easy, is just check what the air screws are set to. 1/2, 1, 1/2, nearly 1 3/4. That's too lean. That's far too lean. Right, we'll leave that in. Let's check the others. Half, 1, 1/2, 1 1/2. Still too lean. They should be around about a turn to a turn and a quarter, certainly no more than that. We'll just try and get into that centre carb. Bit difficult. Come on, baby. 1/2, 1, 1/2. So that's just over 1 1/2, 2. That's going to be too lean, and that's actually going to affect. That will affect the rev range. All right, well, we've got something to focus on. It's almost tempting, isn't it, to fire up again with the screws round about just over a turn. 1/2, 1. We'll just over 1. 1/2, 1. Now on these carbs, concentrics, these are air screws. They're not pilot screws. You're actually metering air into the pilot jet. 1/2, 1. Right, let me fire up her again and I'll bring you back. Sounding it, well, it was sounding a bit better. It's beginning to race a bit now. Still got choke on. Let's take the choke off. God's sake. Slightly uneven on Yeah, Chris, it's fixed. No, what we're going to do is we'll definitely take the carbs off. We need to do some checks on it, but we're definitely moving in the right direction. It's definitely on 3 cylinders. But it is a little imbalanced, so I think the slides need some balancing up, so we need to check all that. So we'll let that cool off a bit. We'll have a cup of tea and a biscuit, and then we'll take the carbs off. And as those of you will know who watch this channel, then it's pretty straightforward on these. The choke and all its cables are all integral with the unit, so all we need to do is we take off the air filter, and that's just held on by 2 bolts. You can see that, there we go, the bolt arm goes through. Undo those two bolts, the air filter comes off. Take off the throttle cable, undo the fuel lines, undo the clamps, Jubilee clips, and pop them off, and we can take them back and get them on the bench. Right, we'll do that now. Right, carbs off, simple enough. Now, before I get on to just initial observations on that, I just thought I'd check under the seat as well, the battery. So it's a gel battery by the look of it, which is good because they're pretty good at holding their charge. There's the electronic ignition unit, and I think looking at that and what I can see from underneath, it's a Micro Mark IV, which I think is Boyer Branson, but I'll look that up. But anyway, that's all neat and tidy, good connections. So I don't think any issues there. Battery's well charged, horn's working. Now, a couple to note when I was dismantling the carbs. The first thing is the ferrule for the throttle cable. It's either stripped, but it doesn't look like it, or the adjuster on the cable is wrong because it slips down the threads. It looks like that's a smaller diameter to me. Obviously it does go up against its adjustment nut stop, but it's supposed to screw into the ferrule too. Not a big issue, but just to note. When I took the hose clips off, they weren't very tight. They were okay, but not too tight, so we can tighten those up. And then air filter, the chrome cover's on the wrong way round. This should be on the top because it's supposed to deflect rain. It's not very good at that, but we'll put that on the right way round when we put it back on. And then on the carbs, well, I usually check the slide levels from the back, and you're not going to be able to see this, but they don't look too bad. But what we will do is we will balance them up, and sometimes they have to be slightly out of kill because it depends what you know, vacuum or suction each cylinder's pulling. But the other thing I did note, kicking it over, it's got good compression, so don't think there's anything serious wrong with this at all. I think we might just be homing in right on the problem there, i.e. the pilot screws, air screws, set too lean. As I say, people screw them out thinking they're giving it more fuel, but they're not, they're giving it more air. But we'll take these back now to the garage at home, and we'll strip these, just make sure they've got the right jets, etc. And we'll also strip the original carbs as well. There's nothing much wrong with them, we'll use them, but we'll need to check that the pilot jets aren't blocked on the original carbs. That's a common problem. All right, there you go. That's a quick intro to that piece of work. We're on our way, and I'll bring you back for some more episodes on this as we progress, but it'll be in pretty short order, as I say, as a bit of respite occasionally from the Bonnie. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Thanks for your interest, comments and any subscriptions. See you all again soon. Cheers.